I don't understand how the fuck those federal laws did not apply to the FBI standing on needing to investigate this a little deeper. I'm not saying it's their fault. I just don't understand their process. I don't understand their thought process on how they had the information and it wasn't applicable to federal law. Someone please explain that to me. Hey guys, this is a unexpected part 2 to the Evergreen video I did. I took a bunch of notes again because it's a lot to kind of go over with all this new information. Let me know what you think in the comments by the end of the video. I'll probably chime in with a couple things like let me know what you think about this, so on and so forth. After 6 days, I've had some questions pop up, like how was the revolver obtained? Did the student find out the SRO was absent, then decided to attack? How many shots were fired exactly? What did the FBI find so far? I don't recall if I covered it in the last video, but the FBI got warrants to search all this stuff as of the time of my research last night. They were still waiting to go look into the locker, but they looked through everything else. So this is all the info we got from all the other stuff. I definitely went into a rabbit hole going and looking at this, going and looking up new information. I was hoping I was going to find information, and boy, did I find a lot of new information. The Anti-Defamation League, the ADL, is basically an anti-hate organization of the world. Since 1913, their, and I quote, mission is to stop the defamation of the Jewish people and to secure justice and fair treatment to all, end quote. They fight all forms of anti-Semitism and bias, etc., etc. They reported an account on an extremist site I will not name here, because I do not support those things. I do not condone the extremist aspects that this individual was associated with. But they turned this over to the FBI sometime in July. That date is unclear. This event happened in September. Keep that in mind. But it was tipped to the FBI's New York field office. So not locally, because we do have FBI offices out here in Colorado. It was not locally, and since that connection was not made yet, that it was to the individual out here in Colorado. The FBI claimed at the time, and I quote, that the account user whose identity was unknown and who was discussing the planning of a mass shooting with threats non-specific in nature, end quote. Quote again, the FBI reviews all tips and pursues credible leads, and all allegations of criminal conduct are reviewed for their merit with consideration of any applicable federal laws. We continue to work on this assessment investigation to identify the name and location of the user up and until September 10th, 25. So the FBI didn't connect the dots necessarily until September 10th. But hold on. The shooter was reported by the ADL. I'm going to backtrack real quick. They were attempting to do a mass shooting. But in the last video, you can see what classifies a mass shooting, and that is 4 or more, or 3 or more. I'll put the correction up here. Individuals that are injured, not counting the shooter. So the shooter was reported by the ADL, a group that fights extremist hate groups based off of the evidence at the time in online spaces featuring extreme ideologies, violent content, and adopting extremist views was not applicable to federal laws? What about conspiracy of communication with extremist groups and radicalization? I'm pretty sure those all fall under federal crimes. But even with all that, the FBI stated, and I quote, "During the assessment, the identity of the account user remained unknown, and thus there was no probable cause for arrest or additional law enforcement action at the federal level," end quote. Let that marinate for a sec. Sit on it. Think about it. Think about it for a sec. I don't understand how the fuck those federal laws did not apply to the FBI standing on needing to investigate this a little deeper. I'm not saying it's their fault. I just don't understand their process. I don't understand their thought process on how they had the information and it wasn't applicable to federal law. Someone please explain that to me. What do you think? All we really have now is finding out if it was an act of ideologically motivated terrorism, as well as finding out if the firearm has connections to someone that could face criminal charges. That could potentially explain the ATF's involvement in this case with the FBI. So I got curious if there was any connection found. So I Googled, what's the story of the firearm Evergreen High School? That's all I put into Google. And according to the AI overview, this popped up. With no source. So I got even more curious and searched different variations of, does Polis have a good relationship with the FBI? And all I can see that appears is that the relationship is functional and cooperative. If you know, you know. A couple links below on that as well. Now, while policymakers like Brittany Peterson, Jared Polis, I might butcher this, I apologize, Yara Zokaie, Lisa Cutter, Tammy Story, John Hickenlooper, Michael Bennett, Jason Crow, Joe, I might butcher this, I'm sorry, Joe Negus, and whomever I missed. Yeah, all those people. What are you gonna do that's gonna pass more fucking gun laws that's not gonna restrict me from protecting myself? I already told you my ideas in the last video. But what are you doing where you're going to pass something that's not going to make it harder for me to defend myself, especially when we have this competency to stand trial law in place? You're not even blinking twice at that. So I don't know what your plan is, but people are getting very frustrated, and I think a lot of people are starting to realize that these gun laws that are being put in place are not making us safer. They're not. It's obvious. It's evident. It's clear. Every state has a case that proves that. I want you to sit down and figure something out before you try to write up another fucking gun law bill from fucking your every town for gun safety fucking people, because they obviously don't know what they're doing over there, because we are getting more dangerous in Colorado. And none of these laws are making it easier for me to defend myself against actual criminals that may see fit to do me harm. And if I don't have a way to defend on myself, I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, I can't rely on the police because their response time goes anywhere between 5 minutes for this urgent situation all the way up to, I've heard, 3 hours for a little car accident. My life is not worth waiting. You need to pass stuff that allows me to defend myself better, easier, and more efficiently in a life or death situation. Yet, according to your own anti-gun group, Everytown for Gun Safety Support Fund, we are one of the top states in the nation for gun law strength at a 67.5%. I can only assume that 67.5% is towards total confiscation. But anyway, Everytown, even states over 30 different gun laws went into effect in the last 5 years. Also, we apparently sit higher than the national average of gun deaths per 100,000. I'll break that down in another video. So I ask you one more time in a different way, what law could have stopped Evergreen from happening? I'll wait. You tell me what law could have stopped it. None. That's the answer. So according to Laura Carno, she thinks we should try something new by protecting children with a zero tolerance plan for more school shootings. She wants hand-picked, well-trained, volunteer-trained staff at, I'm assuming, all schools. She will be put on the Second Syndicate YouTube channel on 9/17. So if you're watching this on the 16th, that'll be tomorrow night at 1800, 6 p.m. for those who don't know what that is, with Alicia and Teddy. I'm going to put that link for their channel on the bottom. Alicia and Teddy, in my opinion, are great 2A advocates. Great at sugarcoating it. I'm trying to be humble. Just remember, guys, be safe and stand up for your 2A rights. I don't know if everyone's going to agree with me on this, but I'm wondering how many people are going to be on board with using a software program within the household for parents who are genuinely concerned, their choice, linked to a website tracker so they can monitor what websites their children are viewing, so therefore they can shut it down and have a conversation with their children about it. I don't know if that's the right way to go. Let me know in the comments what you think. If you think that that could be a measure taken to prevent things like this from happening in the future.